Alright, we have some breaking news coming in, and frankly, the signal-to-noise ratio on this is extremely high. We're seeing a massive deployment of federal resources happening in real time. The Department of Homeland Security has announced just moments ago that it is launching a brand new immigration crackdown in New Orleans. Now, let's look at the numbers, because the scale here is significant. According to a federal law enforcement official, immigration authorities are aiming to arrest up to 5,000 people. 5,000. To put that in perspective, that would be hundreds more than what we saw in the Chicago operation. And this isn't just the city center. This is across a zone extending 80+ miles northwest to the state capital. We are talking about a massive logistical footprint. We've got Ryan Young on the ground in New Orleans as this is about to unfold. Ryan, what are you learning? What is the actual atmosphere there right now? So, Ryan reports that, as you can imagine, people are terrified. The human element here is pure panic. They are scared about what this means for their lives. He's reporting from a neighborhood just outside the tourist city center, and the impact is already being felt. There's a taqueria right there that decided to close its doors. Why? Because they're scared for their customers, and they're scared for their workers. It's a total economic freeze in that specific sector. And you see signs popping up. Everyone is welcome here except ICE. And another one, do not have consent to enter this business unless they have a valid judicial warrant. People are trying to use the legal firewall to protect themselves. Ryan showed us a protest they shot the other night. People are making their voices heard throughout the city. They are concerned about the actions that could take place in the next 24 hours or so. But here is the most interesting psychological shift. Organizers are telling people to almost treat this like COVID. Remember the lockdowns. They are saying, instead of going out for your day-to-day necessities, stay inside. Shelter in place. The hope is that they might be able to sort of outlast the actions by Border Patrol. It's a game of endurance. But the uncertainty is high. No one knows exactly where the agents are going to be over the first 24 hours. Ryan even talked to the mayor-elect. She hasn't even taken office yet. She's the first Hispanic mayor in the city's history, and she is deeply concerned. Here is the friction point. What people are seeing on TV and in reports is not that Border Patrol is going after the most violent criminals. That's not the user experience on the ground. What they are seeing appears to be racial profiling of brown people, treating them like significantly violent offenders regardless of their actual status. And there is a kinetic risk here that we cannot ignore. This is something people in the crime space are talking about. In Louisiana, you can carry guns without a license. You don't have to have a permit to carry concealed weapons. So the concern is, if somebody jumps out with a mask, which agents often do, could they be responded to with shooting? Because the citizen was in fear for their life. You have a high-entropy situation where confusion could lead to a tragedy. There's a conversation about keeping everyone safe, not just the Border Patrol agents, but the people in these neighborhoods. And if you look at the data, the crime numbers year-to-date are actually down. Total crime and murders in the city of New Orleans are trending down. There is positive motion. But the fear is that this federal action will break the feedback loop, causing communities to stop calling 911. We'll see how that plays out over the next few days. So, DHS revealed it has launched this new crackdown. Federal authorities previously said they aim to arrest up to 5,000 people. To understand the logic behind this, we spoke with Tricia McLaughlin, the Homeland Security Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs. We asked her, what are the contours of this operation? What does Catalog Crunch actually look like? Tricia said they are launching Catalog Crunch today. First and foremost, she says the focus is on the worst of the worst criminals. The argument is that these are criminals who have previously been locked up by local authorities, but because New Orleans functions as a sanctuary city, they were not released to ICE. Instead, they were released back onto the streets. She listed the targets: child pedophiles, burglars, gang members, rapists. She was very clear. We will continue, whether it be 5,000 arrests or beyond. Then the conversation pivoted to the president's recent comments. Yesterday, he spoke extensively about security and immigration. He said he does not want people from Somalia here. He literally called them garbage. Now, the Wall Street Journal estimates there are some 40,000 people born in Somalia living in Minnesota right now. The question was put to Tricia. How many of those 40,000 people do you consider to be garbage? Tricia didn't answer with a number. She said they are, really looking at the data. She claimed that, out of Minneapolis and other parts of the country, they are seeing widespread fraud, particularly marriage fraud when it comes to immigration. She said DHS has very reliable data to go after these individuals to make sure they aren't a public charge or a public threat. But the question was pressed again. My question is all of them? The president says he doesn't want them here. Do you consider that to be all of the 40,000 people? Tricia insisted, this is not about politics. This is about public safety. She brought up the terrorist attack that happened last week in the nation's capital, where Sarah Backstrom was killed. She called that the precipice of this action. She said we have to get back to base camp and prioritize American safety. She laid the blame heavily on the previous administration. She said it cannot be overstated the position the Biden administration put us in regarding vetting. She talked about parole programs with little to no vetting, no biometric data, no criminal background history, no cyber or financial crime history. She said they were relying on people to just vouch for individuals. And regarding asylum claims, she said they were not interviewing people on a yearly basis as expected by USCIS. But there is a nuance in the timeline. The individual suspected of killing the National Guard member Sarah Backstrom came to the United States during the Biden administration, but was granted asylum in April, which was during the Trump administration. We asked, what reviews have you done about how asylum was granted in April by the Trump administration? Tricia's response was that they inherited a 1.5 million docket of asylum applications, which she called absolutely absurd. She argued that the Biden administration wasn't doing the yearly check-ins or screening for social media. She said they had to review the Biden administration's package for this claim. Her core argument is that these individuals should be coming in as refugees, where there is a cap, not as asylees. She called the current system a bastardization of the process because it uses parole instead of the refugee pipeline. Finally, we have to talk about the paradox of the drug war. The president recently pardoned the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez. This is a guy who had been sentenced to 45 years for conspiracy to traffic cocaine. The judge who sentenced him said Hernandez knew and understood the violence that accompanies drug trafficking and knowingly facilitated the violence. So, Homeland Security oversees the border. Drugs flow over the border. What message does it send to would-be drug traffickers when they see a pardon for someone convicted of such serious crimes? Tricia's answer was that, fortunately, for the American people, crossings of fentanyl are down 54%. She claims the cartels are getting starved of profits and are trying to move to maritime borders, where we are now seeing 80% of drug trafficking. She said because the land borders are secure, they are shifting vectors. She mentioned strikes from the Department of War, preventing trafficking. Her message to the cartels was, "You're not welcome in the United States. We're done with it. You will be held to the highest standard of the law." It's worth noting, as we wrapped up, that there are people, including Republicans, who question whether former President Hernandez was held to the highest standard of the law, considering he was just pardoned. But that's the situation. The crackdown is live. New Orleans is in a state of high anxiety, and the data is being debated in real time.